Hello and welcome to Obinna TV. So for now, I'd like to look at that is the death of urban radio in Kenya, basically with the exit of Caroline Mutoko from Kiss FM. So do you think urban radio in Kenya is dead? I think Caroline Mutoko was the last Kenyan presenter. I think now urban FM stations are struggling because you can see now you can't stream music, you can stream basically people are not listening to radio anymore because you can't stream music. And now what set Mtoko apart was content. Basically content is king, and since Caroline Mtoko exited from Kiss 100, now you have a lot of these urban radio stations are struggling because for Caroline Mtoko, she was not just a radio presenter, but remember she was also the marketing manager of Radio Africa. Basically, she says, I think some of that money, what she was paid, a large part of that money was in commissions, so that you get that she was getting about 70% of her money came from commissions. That is, she will bring in advertisements, and then of course she will get paid in commission. So basically, I think that emotional connection to brands is what set Caroline talk apart. That is emotional connection to brands. Basically, you will not know, and radio was so good because you would not know whether it is an advertisement. You wouldn't know whether it is an advertisement or whether it is content. And radio has so many lines of making money. I think I think she used to do activations of about 50 million per month, and I think that in that way then you could basically just conclude that Caroline Mtoko was the real queen of radio. And now urban radio seems to be dead after the exit of Caroline Mtoko. It seems urban radio is dead, and I think you see after her exit, I think it is Kalechi Momo and Shafiweru that replaced him. Of course, there was Adele Onyango, but then of course content. Of course, she said that she was not going to play any more Rihanna songs. Basically, she felt that she was too old for urban radio now. But I think you have these young people. What more can you do differently? And this is why I advocate that basically Kenyan urban radio should move towards being a talk show. I think. Basically, you cannot replicate a talk show. I think Kenyan Urban Radio needs to move and be a talk show so that then you have 24-hour talk shows. And I think this agent, you cannot compete with Maina Kageni and Mwalimu Kingangi basically on you cannot compete with Mwalimu Kingangi and Maina Kageni on relationships. So either you talk about politics or you talk about relationships or you talk about celebrities. That's the stuff of content in our media, and that is why I will tend to think that basically Caroline Mutoko was as good as they come. Basically, some say she was the she is the Oprah Winfrey of Africa. I don't know where she went. I think she does influencing jobs for high-end houses, and I think in that sense, then Caroline Mtoko was the real god of urban radio. And I think now urban radio seems to be going the way of the dinosaur. Of course, you have energy coming up, but then how are they able to hold to this TikTok generation that basically these people don't listen to TikTok? I think rural media is still good. Rural media is still good because you could go to rural media is still good because you could the likes of Citizen, Radio Citizen or Radio Jumbo or maybe Millennium, they are listened by people in the rural areas who may not afford the internet bundles maybe to stream music. But I think for urban radio, these people are doing podcasts. And I think even for American radio broadcasters, they have diversified. You have American now it is talk shows and podcasts being incorporated into talk shows. Look at the likes of Brian Kilmeade or Dan Bongino or Brian Dasmith. I think for Americans they have a lot of talk shows. Maybe that's where then they are going. But I think the future of urban radio is in talk shows. Really, I think the future of urban Kenyan radio is on talk shows. I think playing music and I think talking about relationships and even of course, for a classic 105, they say after Mainak again, they have found a replacement, and I think they are trying him, Mike Mondo. But I think, in other words, then urban radio has still got a long way to go, and I think it would take content. Content is still king. I just don't know why we talk only about politicians and celebrities and relationships. Why is it that it is only politics and celebrities that why is it only politics and celebrities that are fueling content on urban radio? So I think basically urban radio dead. And I think maybe, of course, you had Eric Latif leaving Space FM. He had wanted to, he was almost revolutionizing urban radio, but I think Standard Media Group is undergoing a lot of problems. I think Standard Media Group, I think maybe the Gideon Moy on station is undergoing a lot of financial turmoil. I don't know why they can't hold on to staff. Why not pay the staff well? Because the likes of Citizen TV 10 years ago are nothing, but KTN was the real station. But now, because they are not paying workers, then they are not in very good state. They are not paying workers, and I don't think they will be in good for good rate. So I think Standard Media Group, I think it is Standard newspaper that is sustaining them. If they are not paying workers, then I don't think they are going to be. I don't think they are going to be in good state. So you have Eric Latif leaving for Nation FM, and then of course you have and now the situation room. I think a lot of Kenyan middle class will miss, but I think he will take the same format to Nation FM. That is Eric Latif, but I think maybe Caroline Mutoko, maybe she'll be paid about 3 million a year. Then she will return to Kiss FM and resuscitate the same. I'm not saying the likes of Sheila Kwambox don't have quoted, but I think they have concentrated too much on relationships. I think in urban radio, if you concentrate too much on relationships, these people are getting that on TikTok, they are getting that on Facebook. So, what other better content can you do better than relationships and better than TikTok? Because remember, the competition is not competition for urban radio is TikTok. The competition for urban radio is Facebook, is YouTube. That's the competition for urban radio. So how do you make it incorporate podcast, make it adoption? I think that is the way. And then urban radio is going to change. I think that's the way urban radio is going to change. So you let me know on what you think. I think ever since the departure of Caroline Toko from urban radio, I don't think urban radio, Kenyan urban radio, will never be the same again with the departure of Caroline Toko from Kiss 100. So I think maybe she's a beauty about her. She was both a presenter but also a business manager, where her content filled in seamlessly with. You wouldn't know whether it was an advertisement or whether it was just talking. So I think urban radio, the future is in talk shows. That's the future of urban radio. The future is in talk shows. I talk about the political realignments in Kenya, but talk about it. Which Kenyan personality can sustain a 3 hour talk show? That's the future of urban radio. Talk show where you commented, you give out your opinions, and I think that's the future of urban radio. So ever since the exit of Caroline Talk, of course, I don't think her shoes have yet been replaced. Of course, she was at Capital. She was one of the few black presenters at Capital FM. That's Caroline Tucker. She was one of the few presenters at Capital. Basically at that time, Capital FM was made. The presenters were mainly white, and of course, they were not playing African music. So she was a king in black music was not playing, and of course, you had the likes of Ogopa DJs partnering with Kiss FM to be able. So Kiss FM was a big back in those days, and so I think Caroline Mutoko, maybe she needs to come back and resuscitate Kiss FM. I just think that content was first class, but then of course also partnering with brands. I think she has that emotional connection to brands. So you let me know on whether you think urban radio in Kenya can resuscitate itself. Do you think urban radio in Kenya can resuscitate itself? So you let me know in the comment section. So bye for now.